Hi, my name is Jess Nicole, the director and producer of this project. Thanks for clicking on my fan dub of I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. I wanted to say a few words before the series officially begins. I was introduced to I Was a Teenage Exocolonist in early 2023 in an English class focusing on video games and other digital literature, and I fell in love with it immediately. As my friends and I played the game, the desire to bring a voice cast into this game grew, and so I started planning for and working on this since May of 2023. I wanted to create a series of videos introducing the game to new people, but also gifting existing fans a voice cast to their favorite characters. Now it's finally here. It has taken a lot of work to get here. Months of typing, recording, casting, directing, and editing, and the hard work is finally coming together. When screen recording my gameplay, I ran into quite a bit of scuff in the later videos. I have no idea how to change it, so unfortunately, we're stuck with lag. If you know how to fix it or how I can do better in the future, please let me know down in the comments below. The voices in this project belong to the actors, and the actors alone. There is no AI involved in this project, and under no circumstances are the actors' voices to be taken for AI. If you like the videos, you can hit that like button down below and subscribe and ding the bell to get notifications for our future episodes and projects. With all that being said, thank you to every actor who auditioned, and thank you to every actor cast for your hard work and dedication. Thank you to Finji Studios and Northway Games for creating such an amazing and beautiful game. Thank you to Sarah Northway for allowing me to go through with this project. And thank you, the viewer, for choosing to watch. Without further ado, please enjoy I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. You wake to chaos. A confusion of light and heat and smoke. Fire. Your head is pounding. You must have hit it and blacked out, but you aren't sure how you got here. Or what on Vertumna is happening. There's something important you need to remember. Your stomach lurches as the floor crumbles beneath your feet, then collapses. Your body aches and your eyes burn from the smoke. A figure appears through the flames. It's your friend. Your friend? Wait, why can't you remember her name? She's gesturing and shouting at you, but all you hear is a ringing in your ears.
What's going on?
You try to speak, but the words come out jumbled. Your throat seizes around a lungful of choking smoke, and you feel dizzy and confused. Your friend pulls you out of the rubble. She throws your arm around her shoulder and half drags you toward the door. Through it, you see a deep, eerie twilight, dark blue and cold against the heat of the fire around you. Glow season. Glowing eyes. You shake your head to clear your vision. Is that some kind of dog? Like from Earth? The creature howls and lunges, its jaws open. You are born on the Stratospheric, Earth's first colony ship, halfway through its 20-year voyage to a wormhole at the edge of the Sol system. Your parents run the hydroponic gardens, which make fresh air and vegetables for the ship. Like the other colonists, they bravely chose to make this one-way journey to the uncharted planet Vertumna IV in the hope they could escape Earth's troubles. They had you the old-fashioned way, merging their genes like they merged their cultures and traditions. They name you
Something else. Soul.
You're a bright-eyed child with an active imagination. Sometimes too active, your mom says. You have vivid dreams of things you've never experienced. Dirt under your feet, skies overhead, endless jungles and strange animals. You wonder if this is what Vertumna will be like. Every child on the Stratospheric is given one genetic enhancement. By age 6, you see the first signs of yours.
Calm temperament.
Nothing can faze you. You're rarely frustrated, and you don't let anxiety get the better of you. You brush insults aside, always play nice, and never have to be told that sharing is caring. You're especially nice to your friend.
Tough and gentle Cal.
Cal is a sweetheart, always ready to lend a hand or play a game. He and Tammy are just as inseparable, so it's almost like you have 2 best friends instead of just one. Cal teaches you how to take care of all the classroom plants. Your parents are very proud of both of you.
Yeah, Cal.
You're 10 years old when the ship finally reaches the wormhole. Professor Hal says it's like a doorway to other star systems, with the planet Vertumna IV on the other side. You run emergency drills for months to prepare. When the day finally comes, it starts with a rumble. Then things start to slide off the tables. You hurry to gather near the escape pods just in case. The emergency area is crowded with families.
It's going to be fine, so...
Your dad soothes.
We'll be through the wormhole and down on the planet before you know it. Just like we've practiced.
Your mom gives him a sharp, worried look. Red emergency lights switch on as a siren begins to sound somewhere in the ship. You try to breathe slowly like you were taught, but you're very scared. You look out a porthole. The stars are gone. When you're frightened, you...
Get in touch with your emotions.
You bawl like a baby. It feels good. You aren't the only one. Nearby, your classmate Tammy has tears streaming down her cheeks. Marz is trying quietly to console her. She sighs as your crying makes Tammy wail even more loudly. Your dad puts his arms around you as you let it out. You wait. The shaking builds. Then everything starts to get very weird. The hallway stretches, and you're stretching too, your arms impossibly long. Your head feels like it's slowly filling up like a balloon and contracting down to the size of an atom at the same time. Is this the wormhole? You hear a distant, ominous squeal of metal giving way as the ship shudders and lurches in slow motion. The weirdest part is a sense of déjà vu. You're sure this has happened to you before, and you know, somehow, that everything is going to be okay. The shuddering reaches a crescendo. You hear an impossibly loud crunch and feel weightless for a few seconds before gravity slams you back against the wall, head first. You black out. As you slip unconscious, you feel yourself twisted out of time. It's today, yesterday, and tomorrow all at once. And more than just one tomorrow. Lots of them. Different tomorrows. You find yourself in a place you know from your dreams. A cavern in the humid belly of a planet. Glowing liquid laps at your ankles. A boy walks past you into the pool, grabbing you by the wrist. You resist, but with the inexorable strength of a dream, he pulls and pulls until you are both submerged in the pool. Fear grips you as the liquid closes over your head and you realize you can't move. You're gelatinized along with the boy. Your body's annihilated and reformed into something different. Distantly, you can feel the ship's shaking has stopped and hear your parents' worried voices. Feeling safe, you slip further into the warm embrace of the stars. You drift. Gradually, your consciousness reforms. You wake up in the medbay? The medbed under you plays a soft tone and an automated voice speaks. 2 weeks have elapsed. The patient's cranial injury has completed healing. They may now be safely discharged. As the fog lifts from your head, you realize something seems different about this room. It's so bright? You try to focus on the window. Something is definitely different.
Sunlight?
Instead of the familiar blackness of space, Bright light from twin blue and yellow suns is streaming through the windows. You peer out and see fields, glass-walled domes, and walls ringed by giant mushroom-like trees. There are construction materials everywhere and people walking around, outside, on the ground. You better get out there and join them.
Rush outside to start your new life.
Oh!
Tammy jumps as you step out of the ship's quarters behind her.
You're awake! You've been asleep in medbay for days. Are you better?
You rub your eyes. You do feel groggy. Everything is so strange. The air feels moist and the ground is covered with pale blue powder that crunches under your feet. The reflections off it are blinding. You squint and look up, then almost fall over from the vertigo. The sky goes on forever. Around you are fungal trees taller than anything you've ever seen before. Your heart pounds in your chest.
Are you feeling okay, Soul? You better go see your dad.
Tammy says, worried.
He and your mom have been waiting for you to wake up.
She points southeast towards some geodesic domes.
Soul!
Your dad gives you a big, warm hug.
I'm so happy you're finally awake. Dr. Instance thought it'd be best to keep you asleep while your noggin healed. Oh, your mother and I thought you might sleep away the whole year, my snoozy little gooseberry.
He checks your head and looks relieved. He was clearly very worried about you, but covers it with jokes and smiles.
Aw, you love your dad.
Welcome to Vertumna,
He says, gesturing around you. You've never seen the stratospheric from the outside, except in pictures. The ship has been separated in two, and parts taken off to form other buildings and a big wall around the colony. The alien jungle creeps right up to the wall. Only the geodesic greenhouses pass outside it, dotting their way up the hill.
How'd you do this so fast?
You've been asleep for weeks, my dear aubergine.
He says.
And these geodesic greenhouses practically put themselves up. But some of this is only a quick, temporary solution.
He admits.
We'll keep growing and improving things. One day, our little colony will be as big as a whole city. Oh, before I forget.
He pulls a package out from his satchel and hands it to you. You blink and stare at it blankly.
Don't you know what day it is?
He asks. You honestly don't. You remind him that you've been asleep in medbay.
Happy birthday!
He shouts, wrapping you in a warm hug. Your birthday already? You feel a dizzying sense of déjà vu. You stare hard at the wrapped package. You know exactly what's in there. You remember it. No, you dreamed about this package, some years ago on the ship. Inside will be a small medallion in the shape of a sun that your dad made by hand.
Open the package.
How did you know this? It's exactly as you imagined, as you dreamed. A feeling of panic rises in your throat. Your hand shakes. But how? Your dad notices.
Are you okay, Soul?
He snaps his fingers.
Dr. Instance shouldn't have let you out so early. Sometimes those sleeping meds take a while to wear off. They might make your head feel funny for a few hours.
You nod. Maybe that's all it is. Someone shouts your dad's name.
Listen, I'm so sorry, Soul.
He says.
But I have to get back to work. There was an accident when we landed and...
He stops himself.
Don't worry. We're going to fix it, your mother and I. Professor Hal is expecting you in classes if you're feeling up to it.
Your dad says, pointing west to the engineering wing in the rear end of the bisected ship. Then he points to the large doors you came out of earlier.
Or you can relax in our quarters until you're feeling better. We'll talk later tonight.
He says, then kisses the top of your head and ruffles your hair.
Have a wonderful birthday, Soul. I love you.
Love you too, Dad.
You see Dis sitting on the ground beside some bushes. Is he hiding from somebody? He seems to be watching the gate in the wall to the south, where grown-ups are coming and going.
Kids aren't allowed past the walls,
He says quietly without looking up.
They say there's nothing to be afraid of, but then why do we need walls?
You stare at the gate and have a sudden rush of memory so strong that you think you might faint. You imagine something crashing through the wall, something enormous and dark and wriggly. For years in space, you've had half-remembered nightmares of monsters, of your ship being destroyed, of sifting through the wreckage that used to be your home, trying to find something. Your dad always told you the dreams weren't real. Breaking you from your daydream, Dis whispers.
I think there are monsters out there.
I believe you.
No, you don't.
He says.
You're being sarcastic. I can tell. Nobody believes me.
He turns his back and ignores you.
Leave him alone.
Well, you tried. Dis is so sensitive about being teased.
Hiya, Soul!
Anemone seems really at home here. She's rolling a sports ball around with her foot, making patterns in the weird blue snow.
This stuff is different from snow on Earth.
She tells you.
'Cause it isn't cold, but it's still neat, and you can make stuff out of it.
Your foggy head clears a little. Anemone is simple, physical, real. You always feel grounded near her.
What are you making?
Just snow spirals.
She says.
But earlier, me and Cal made a big snow pal. You missed it while you were sleeping in the med bay.
She smiles her broad, gap-toothed smile at you.
Now that you're awake, we can play!
Have you seen any monsters?
Nope, just some little bugs. The grown-ups would say if there were monsters, right?
She shrugs, then smiles reassuringly.
Even if there were monsters, Chief Ret would beat them all up, so don't worry. My mom says we're safer here than we were in space.
You both look over at the wreckage of the Stratospheric, the spaceship where you were born. Anemone's mom, Auntie Seedent, is probably right about that. Look at what the wormhole did to your ship.
Why aren't you in school?
She smacks her forehead.
School! I wondered where everybody was. I guess I'm gonna be late for humanities class.
She doesn't look very worried to you.
It's okay.
She says.
Professor Hal is chill. He won't mind. But we should probably go now.
She grins and starts running toward engineering.
Hey! Race you!
No fair, she's getting a head start. A low throbbing noise comes from the engine room, which provides power to the colony. Other corridors lead off to the teaching labs and medbay. You know the route to your classroom well, but the rest of this wing is off limits to children. Congruence, the ship's onboard AI, beams down at you from a nearby holoscreen.
Don't forget to study hard, Soul.
Study life sciences.
Good afternoon, my burgeoning biologists and up-and-coming chemists.
Professor Hal welcomes you back to your old classroom.
This afternoon, we'll learn what I like to call the wet sciences.
He gestures to his holo-projected lesson plan.
Biology, chemistry, medicine, ecology, and geology. You'll learn a little bit of everything, with opportunities for further study in your favorite field. If you're looking for something a little drier, try registering for engineering classes. For today's lesson,
Professor Hal tells you.
We'll start with a fun group project. You'll be studying the mush tree, a prominent natural resource native to Vatumna. In the ideal conditions, it can grow at a speed of over 1 meter a day, and have a diameter of up to 30 centimeters.
He stands on his tiptoes and gestures to illustrate.
Your team will experiment to find those ideal conditions.
You're teamed up with Tang and Cal and are given a mush tree spore and a bucket to grow it in. The rest is up to you. Tang looks up surveyor's notes on the holonet.
Musk trees
She reads.
are most abundant south of the colony in the stormy, moist regions of the Sebaquia swamp.
What if we use water instead of soil?
Cal suggests.
Like they do with hydroponics?
Tang nods.
If they like wet weather, that might work. Sol, do you have any suggestions?
Sing to it daily.
Tang protests, saying talking and singing to plants is foolish and unscientific. But Professor Hal reminds you that we don't know everything about Vertumnan plants yet, and nobody has proved it doesn't work on mush trees. He gives you his blessing. Every day, you rush into the classroom to check on its progress. You and Cal sing quietly to it. Tang flatly refuses to join in. By midweek, it is sprouted, and if you look very closely, you think you can actually see it growing while you watch. By the end of the week, yours is one of the biggest mush trees in the class. But one other group also tried Cal's water idea, and theirs is the same height as yours. How'd they do that without singing? Your parents have been working from first dawn to well after dinner every day. You know growing food is an important job, and it's vital to get crops in the ground right away, but there seems to be something more than that. It's such a change from growing up on the stratospheric, when you saw them all the time. You stay up and wait for them at night before going to bed. Though you can tell they're exhausted, they make an effort to spend time with you.
I'm sorry we haven't seen much of you, little gooseberry.
Your dad says. Your mom watches you as she works a pebble out of her gardening tiller, which also serves as a crutch.
How have you been holding up?
I learned some stuff in school.
I'm glad to hear that.
Your mom says.
I want you to study hard, work hard, and stay out of trouble.
Your dad smiles.
And Professor Hal will give you kudos if you get good grades. You can spend those at the depot once it's open. You know,
says your dad, raising an eyebrow at your mom.
I think there are lots of different ways to learn, and school is just one of them. You can learn from working on a hobby or by helping a friend.
Your mom shakes her head and sighs, though you can tell she's trying to put on a gentle expression.
We both agree that this colony is an experiment, and that means we're going to do things differently than on Earth. You're old enough now to start making your own decisions about your education and future. And if that means you find your own way, we'll accept that.
Your dad puts a hand on your shoulder.
We'll be proud of you no matter what you do. Try talking to your friends. They may have ideas for how you can spend your time.
And come by geoponics.
Your mom adds.
We could use your help.
Anemone is bumping a sports ball with her wrists, trying to keep it in the air.
Heads up!
She shouts and bumps the ball in your direction. Think fast!
Bounce it back.
You bounce the ball back and forth with her, trying to see how many times you can rally and keep it going. Anemone tells you about the new sports ball court, a proper regulation-sized court, way bigger than the little 0G one on the stratospheric. Her brother Com is coaching the junior sports ball team this year.
He's so great,
she says.
He's good at everything, especially spiking. He's coaching me to play awesome like him. You should come join us.
A sharp whistle interrupts your thoughts.
Hey, Soul!
Marz calls out to you.
Come here, I have a job for you.
You walk over to Marz, who's sheltering from the snow under the ship's overhang.
It's so gross here.
She complains.
The sparks would ruin my good clothes. At least on the ship we had climate control. Ugh. Tammy made me some soy sweets, but there's no way I'm going out there in all this weather.
She continues.
Since you like running around in it, could you fetch them for me?
Okay.
Good.
Marz claps.
She's probably just down the hill near our quarters.
Marz sighs.
She's scared to take more than a few steps from the door. All she wants to do is hide inside and make sweets.
Tammy is staring obliviously at the sky, smiling to herself. She startles as you approach.
Oh, hello,
Soul.
she says, putting her hand to her chest.
Do you need something? I'm here for Marz's soy sweets.
Tammy smiles at you.
Oh, it's so nice of you to help out Marz. She's a very important person, you know.
She hands you a box wrapped in a pink and yellow scarf.
1 order of mango soy sweets, made fresh this morning,
she says.
Please tell Marz that she can have the scarf back, okay? She used some of her kudos to nanoprint it for me because it's so dusty here, but I think I'm getting used to it now.
Tammy smiles again and tucks her hair behind her big elven ears.
Marz is so cool,
she says fondly.
Sometimes she's kind of bossy, but I know she really cares too.
You see Tammy sitting quietly near the entrance to the lounge. You've known her for, well, your whole entire life. Back on the ship, you
used to play with her.
Tammy had the best doll collection. After her mom died, her dad used all his nanoprinter creds to print her a different doll every month for a whole year. Her ears perk up when she sees you.
Oh, hello, Soul,
she says. Her voice is soft and dreamy, like a beam of starlight.
Do you want to play dolls? I sure do.
You don't think Tammy will ever be too old to play with dolls. If anything, she has even more of them now. She takes you to her quarters and brings out the entire Spacey Stacy doll collection, a disturbingly realistic baby with real bowel movements, and 2 super fancy posable dolls named Lily and Tilly who can be programmed to move on their own. Tammy isn't very good at the programming, so Lily and Tilly just roll around awkwardly when you turn them on. You cover quickly by saying they must be breakdancing at a club. The 2 of you spend the afternoon making up stories of their rise to stardom as professional dancers. Marz puts out her hand expectantly. Give it here.
Here it is.
You hand over the box of soy sweets with a smile. Marz takes it and giggles.
You're such a good sidekick, doing everything I say.
She opens the box and hands you a soy sweet.
Your tip.
She tells you.
Oh, and Administrator Seeq's looking for someone to do delivery jobs for the depot.
She says.
I don't want to do it, cause ew. Running around out there? No. Just go through there.
She says, gesturing to the door behind her.
And tell them I referred you.
Command is a warren of long hallways with doors off to tiny, nondescript offices. Everyone you pass seems to be hurrying off to something important. The end of one hallway opens into the supply depot, which works as both requisitions office and general store. Beyond it are cavernous warehouses stacked high with supplies from Earth, now being gradually unpacked and distributed.
View the notice board.
Colony food shortfall, negative 100%, low. Colony security rating, evaluating. Upcoming event, we will be hosting our first annual Vertumnalia Festival during the 2nd month of Dust. Chief Administrator Seeq. Notice, take precautions outside the colony boundaries. Xenofauna have been sighted in the area. Survey teams are investigating. Chief Surveyor Tonin. Current Council and Administration. Governor Eudicot, Command. Chief Administrator Seeq, Command. Security Chief Ret, Garrison. Chief Engineer Instance, Engineering. Chief Cultivator Flulu, Geoponics. Chief Steward Antecedent, Quarters. Chief Surveyor Melatonin, Expeditions.
Hello, my little potato.
Your dad exclaims, smiling warmly.
What have you been up to today?
Just hanging with my friends.
That gal's a good boy,
he says.
And have you seen Anemone? She's been out by the garrison playing sports ball. I think she spent every day outside since we landed.
He chuckles to himself.
Guess that's what happens when you've got enough brothers to make your own sports ball team.
He breathes deeply and looks slowly around.
Vertumna is magnificent, isn't it?
You nod.
Seasons!
He shouts, throwing his hands wide.
I missed seasons. Back on Earth it got much, much colder. And the snow wasn't half as pretty as our spark snow.
He sighs, stretching.
You just wait until dust season. Both the suns will be high in the sky and it'll be real hot then. You'll see.
You find your mom hard at work setting up the greenhouses with a small construction crew. You've seen these plans pinned to the wall of your family's quarters for years now. These geodesic domes will house the more delicate plants from Earth: spinach, tomatoes, maybe even fruit. She takes a swig from her canteen as you approach.
Looking for something to do?
She asks.
Remember, Soul, you're responsible for your own schedule now that we've landed. You can decide how to spend your time, so long as it's productive.
She points toward the engineering wing, in the back half of the Stratospheric's severed frame.
Professor Hal's still expecting you in class, but a well-rounded education includes practical application. You're old enough to help with the work around here.
She claps her hand on your shoulder.
I've got another minute. Anything you need to know?
What are you doing in geoponics?
She looks down and nudges at a sprout growing between her feet. It's green, the color of earth plants.
We're doing our best,
she says.
But it hasn't been easy. I just hope the potatoes and corn can handle the weather here,
she says, glancing up at the sky.
I hear it rains like hell in the wet season.
She takes a long look at you, up and down.
You're growing fast, Soul, but you're still too young for real farming. Instead, there's a lot of soil that needs to be hauled.
Seeing your disappointment, she nudges you on the shoulder.
Don't pout. It'll help build those muscles. You'll need them now that we're out in the real world doing real work. Out here, we have to rely on our physical strength.
She flexes her biceps. Your mom is really strong.
What's happening in engineering?
Hal's teaching classes on life science, engineering, and humanities. If you pass all your tests, maybe he'll let you work there in a few years. Your father thinks you're old enough that school is optional. I don't agree, but I'll be honest with you,
she says, gesturing to the fields.
We do need every pair of hands we can get. If you want to work with me, here in geoponics, I'd suggest studying life science. If you don't have a good grasp of biology and ecology, I'm going to stick you on shovel duty.
What can I do in the quarters?
If you need a break,
she advises,
you can visit the lounge and see your friends. But,
she warns, raising a finger,
I don't want to see you lounging around all the time. You need to work hard too.
What's the garrison?
Security Chief Red is organizing a sports ball team. You used to play, didn't you? Back on the ship? It'll be different here, with the planet's gravity.
Of all the adults in the colony, Rhett and your mom are the most like soldiers you'd seen on a holovid. For a moment, you think your mom's going to suggest something else. Then she shakes her head.
You're too young for defense training, so don't worry about that yet. Just enjoy yourself. And stay out of trouble.
What's going on in command?
I think Seeq said they need someone to deliver supplies from the depot. They're also setting up a shop there if you've got some kudos to spend. And of course, that's where Captain Governor Eudicot works. But you shouldn't bother her. She's a busy woman, and she doesn't have your mother's patience with kids.
You try not to giggle. Your mom isn't usually known for her patience.
Can I join expeditions?
Oh, you're too young to leave the colony. It's dangerous.
She shakes her head.
Your father would be worried. There's so much we still don't know about the world out there. Let the adults find out. Then maybe you can join them in a few years, when you're older.
She gives you a stern look. She isn't going to budge on this one.
For now, stay inside the walls.
Okay, bye.
Jess looks at his feet and pretends not to notice you.
I don't want to go to school.
Anemone pouts.
But I guess we have to. You know how to get there, right? Through the door in the engineering wing behind me. You know, the big thing with the rockets on top.
She laughs.
I was confused too at first. I'd never seen the ship from the outside before.
The greenhouses have different biomes inside, growing plants from Earth that might belong in a desert, jungle, or temperate forest. Some are so delicate you have to spray off any germs in an airlock before you can enter. The seasonal garden outside is dotted with blue nobodies, little flowers with what look like wriggling creatures stuck inside each one. A sign explains it's a decoy, meant to attract some kind of flying predator to come pollinate the flower.
Shovel dirt.
It's your first day in the glorious world of agricultural soil conveyance.
Oh boy.
Good morning, Soul. Looks like you're working for your old lady. I hope you don't expect me to go easy on you just because you're my kid.
She walks you around the geoponic signs and points out where everything is. Your job is to move sod, compost, plants, garden waste, and equipment from one place to another.
Get comfortable with this,
she says, pushing a squeaky, old-fashioned wheelbarrow towards you.
Now, any questions before you start moving that dirt?
Don't we have machines for this?
The construction crews already claimed all the hover lifts,
she says, shrugging.
But they'll break down in a few years anyway, and we don't have the materials to fix them.
She grips your forearm.
We're planet side now. Use your muscles. Nature's hydraulic pistons.
Why not use hydroponics?
On the ship, we grew most of our plants with their roots in the water. And it's true, it was more hygienic that way.
Your mom replies. She brushes an insect off her arm, which lets out a loud squeak of objection.
But hydroponic systems use too much energy. Here, we have to grow as much as we can the old-fashioned way.
Let's get to work.
That's my kid,
your mom says, slapping you on the back. You stumble a little. Your arms start to ache after the first half hour of work, but you keep going. By the end of the month, you feel utterly drained and exhausted. And good, somehow. You can feel your muscles growing already. This week, you had a few more bouts of déjà vu, remembering what somebody is about to say or do just before they do it. Sometimes they actually do it, but not always. This morning, you were sure Professor Hal was going to trip on the uneven floor in the cafeteria and spill his plate of hash browns. You even told Marz to watch. He didn't, though. As Professor Hal walked away, his hash browns safe for today, Marz called you a liar and a dummy. At night, your dreams are all mixed up with stuff that you know can't be real. You're chased by monsters the size of buildings, only to be saved by strange people you've never met. You're holding hands with someone you love. You're crying as you help lift a shrouded body into the colony recycler. Everything seems so familiar, but when you try to recall their faces when you wake up, they're smeared in your memory like wet paint. But what if those things haven't happened yet, but they will someday? Anytime you try to tell someone, they think you're playing a trick, or that you're sick and you need to go to medbay. You eventually decide to stay quiet about your strange dreams. Why?
You don't want people to worry.
Your parents have so much on their minds already. You have a feeling that something is happening at Geoponics that they don't want you to know. You don't understand it, but when they come home at night, they look really sad. You don't want to make that worse. If you just keep going to classes and staying out of trouble, it'll be easier for everyone, yourself included. Cal is riding around the Geoponics gardens on his hoverboard. The board comes to a sudden shuddering stop on the rocky ground in front of you. Cal falls off but catches his balance before he eats dirt.
Hi, Sol. Real ground is way harder to hover on than ship floors. There are bumps everywhere.
We all have to adapt.
Yeah,
Cal exclaims.
Things are actually way, way better planet side. Hovering outside is rad. Look at this.
He runs over to a small depression in a nearby hill and presents it like it's something amazing.
Look at this. It's a skate bowl.
Cool. Can I try?
Sure, but please be careful. Mom says if I break my hoverboard, we can't make another one.
You take turns riding around the bowl, trying to get up enough speed going down one side to come up the other. You don't land any tricks. It's hard just staying on the board with this uneven ground, but it's still fun. You step cautiously through the colony gates.
Hey there, kiddo.
Uncle Tonin blocks your way with a smile.
I'm afraid expeditions is off limits for now. It's not safe out there for kids. You'd better toughen up so you can join the squads when you're older.
Tangent is hunched over her holopalm, frowning and poking angrily at the air. She speaks without looking up at you.
Professor Hal wants us to prep a list of native flora with pictures. There should be a catalog on the colony holonet, but I can't find it anywhere.
I'll help you find that catalog.
You launch your own holopalm and start searching the colony's holonet archives for a list of vertumnal plants and animals. 10 minutes later, you find it buried under survey logistics in the expeditions net. Anemone passes by and pulls a face at the two of you.
Hey, holo nerds!
She shouts.
School's over. Come play sports ball in the sunshine.
Tang just rolls her eyes. Anemone is running around the sports ball court, touching her hand to the ground at each corner.
18.
She counts.
19.
When she reaches 20, she collapses into the grass and checks her holopalm.
I'm training.
She explains.
My big bro Com says I have to get my legs climatized to the planet if I'm going to be team captain like him.
You are paired with Cal for a simple lab assignment, where you have to mix 2 reagents and heat them over a little flame. The solution is supposed to turn blue, but yours explodes and makes a huge mess. Cal grabs a dustpan and helps you to clean it up. You spot your dad catching a break inside the geoponics domes. He takes a huge glug from his canteen, then upends the rest over his face.
Whew.
He exclaims.
Wish I could take my eyes out of my head, wash them off, and pop them back in.
He laughs at the look on your face.
Too gross? Too gross. Sorry, kiddo. This pollen is just so itchy.
Your mom is hard at work breaking ground for the new fields. As the colony's chief cultivator, she's been preparing for this year for as long as you can remember.
Hey, Soul.
She says, leaning hard on her tiller and mopping her brow.
You need me for something? If you're not going to class, I can always put you to work.
No, I'm good.
Tammy's dad is the head of expeditions, which means he's out surveying the jungle every day. This morning, you see her crying in the doorway as he leaves.
I don't like when he goes out there.
She sniffs after he is gone.
But he is so brave. And so are you. That's why I like you, Soul.
Perform a random act of kindness.
You start simple. You give Tammy an enormous hug, sharing the love. Tammy gets a lot of hugs, but you make sure this one feels special. She hugs you back, wiggling back and forth happily. She's surprisingly strong.
Thanks, Sol.
She says breathlessly as you squeeze the wind out of her a little.
I really, really needed that. Oh, before you go,
She adds, and produces a box with a slice of cake in it from the folds of her skirt.
do you want this cake? They're so fun to make, but I need someone to help me eat them. I'll make you another on your birthday if you like, and we can trade hugs for cake again.
Cal runs up to you, streaked from foot to neck with purple dirt.
There's so much space! Me and Anemone just ran for 20 minutes, and we never ran down the same path twice.
He leans over and braces his hands on his knees, breathing heavily.
Hooey! She's so fast.
A small team led by Security Chief Rhett was enough to keep the peace on the Stratospheric. To stay busy, they also ran the exercise gym and sports ball courts. Here on Vertumna, the garrison has expanded fast. They're building a huge wall around the colony and have an outdoor firing range and a big covered dojo. And best of all, a regulation-sized sports ball court. An enemy meets you on the court. She's bouncing from one leg to the other in excitement.
My big brother Com is organizing the youth team,
She tells you. Kombucha offers you a high five and greeting, then tosses a sports ball your way.
Let's start with a practice game to see what you're good at. You and Anemone are team captains. Pick your team.
Anemone used to practice with Cal and Marz on the ship, but Tammy? You're surprised to see her here. Com will fill in to even up the teams, but he promises to go easy on the other side.
Choose Cal.
Mind if I play goalie?
He asks.
Sports ball is fun, but I don't really like to score against the other team.
Anemone chooses Kombucha, of course. They bump fists. Your next choice.
Tammy.
Cal said I should join, but I'm not very good at sports. Where should I stand?
She asks quietly. You aren't sure. You assign her to tackleback and tell her to stick like glue to the opposing team's spiker. Maybe she'll get in their way instead of yours? You face off, 3-on-3. Tammy tackles an enemy in a brilliant takedown that surprises everyone. She really took to her role as the immovable object. Cal makes an amazing jump save, but is winded when the ball hits him in the chest. The score is tied, with Anemone and Com putting the pressure on. Then blam! You score the match point with a rad spike all the way from the net line. You wake from an afternoon nap. You squint into the pink-tinged light slanting through the windows. You must have fallen asleep in the lounge. Tammy's shadow falls across your nest of pillows.
Oh! I'm sorry, Sol.
She says, giggling.
I didn't mean to wake you up. It's just so nice outside. With Pollen sparkling in the sunlight, I wanted to open the windows.
You rub your eyes blearily. Ugh, you were having the weirdest dream.
Since you're awake, you should visit the cafeteria. Auntie Seedent is making a new kind of candy. She says it's made of cotton. Isn't that weird? I have to go tidy the creche first. Then I'll meet you there. Save some for me, okay?
Tammy skips off toward the creche, humming to herself.
Go get that free candy.
In the cafeteria, Auntie Seedent is cheerfully handing out masses of pink candy, puffy and soft like clouds.
Oh, Sol!
she says, handing you a wand with some candy spun around the end.
Here, try some of this. We used to have it on Earth.
You pull off a piece and give it a taste. It's so sweet at first that your mouth puckers. You've never tasted anything so sweet and so real. It's not at all like the soy sweets that the kitchen nanoprinter can make. It melts in your mouth, leaving a gritty residue on your tongue. You wait until everyone is gone, but Tammy never shows up. You look down at the cotton candy in your hands. It's wilted a little from the humidity, but it's kind of like her hair, you think. Pale pink and so soft. You keep some to give to her later. You're relaxing in your family's quarters after dinner. Your mom had to run off on some kind of council business, so you and your dad are playing a holo game together. When you're just about ready to head off to bed, your mom returns. You can tell from the defeated slant of her shoulders that something has gone terribly wrong. Your dad starts to ask her what's happened, but she waves him away and approaches you. She sits down and takes your hand, holding it between her two strong, dirt-creased ones.
So, I'm so sorry to have to tell you this.
She starts. Her mouth quivers as she swallows, working on her next words.
There was an accident this afternoon in the creche. Your friend, Tammy, has died.
You try to understand her words. Tammy, dead? That's not possible. You suddenly remember the cotton candy you were saving to give Tammy. Pink and fluffy, just like her hair. You put your hand in your pocket to get it, but what comes out is a sticky, dark red lump of hard goo. You stare at it, your mind blank.
Ask what happened.
Your mom tells you, as simply as possible, that Tammy was killed by an electric shock from a broken holoprojector. It was just an accident. You press her for more, for an explanation. A little girl is dead. Someone you'd grown up with. Someone so much like you. She wasn't sick or anything. You just saw her this morning. She was right there. Why? Your mom's eyes are sad when she tells you.
Sometimes there's just no reason why.
You aren't used to dealing with death, and you don't know what you're supposed to say or do. You sort of mumble, okay, then get changed and crawl into bed a full hour before your bedtime. You try to fall asleep, but you toss and turn for hours. You eventually drift off to fitful dreams of that small, sticky red lump of cotton candy. Anemone is checking rocks at the strato, sending metallic clangs ringing through the colony.
Stupid planet!
She yells.
Stupid crash! Stupid spaceship!
She bends down to pick up another rock, but instead just sobs and braces her hands on her knees.
Stupid everything! Why'd she have to die? It's not fair! Kids aren't supposed to die!
Can you believe Tammy died?
Dis asks morbidly.
I heard Chief Engineer Instance tell someone about it.
He lowers his voice.
Tammy got shocked by a broken holoprojector. The one in the creche with the dancing teddy bear. You remember? When she touched it, she got chucked all the way across the room.
He makes a sailing motion with his hand.
And bam! She was dead before she even landed.
Wow. Really?
Dis suddenly looks embarrassed.
Yeah. I mean, it's too bad she's gone. She was nice.
He tugs at the sleeves of his oversized jacket.
But that's kind of a cool way to die.
Tang is pacing around in front of engineering. She looks upset.
It shouldn't have happened,
she said.
Tammy's. What happened to Tammy? It shouldn't have been possible. There was no reason for that holoprojector to break. Professor Howe said it was recently serviced, and nothing was wrong with it before it just
She gestures angrily.
blew up for no reason. Nobody would have wanted to hurt her. So, why? How? It doesn't add up. Sorry, Soul. I want to think about this some more. I I hate when I can't find the answer.
Marz is staring into space, looking somber. She doesn't even notice when you come up beside her, and barely reacts when you say hello.
I'm thinking about Tammy.
She says quietly.
She used to sit down the hill there, in that spot in the sun. Every morning she'd just sit there, for hours in the sun, doing nothing. Just being happy.
You stare down the hill to the spot near the entrance to the quarters. You can imagine her there, working on some little craft project, humming to herself.
She was so nice to everybody.
And now she's dead.
Marz says, making a face.
How's that for fair? Of all the people, how come it had to be my friend?
You don't have an answer. You've never heard Marz call Tammy her friend before, but of course she was. Tammy was everyone's scared little sister, even though she was older than most of you. Marz clicks her tongue.
Oh, yeah. Administrator Seeq is looking for you. I guess they need someone to do delivery jobs.
She waves vaguely at the door behind her, distracted by her thoughts. Cal is sitting in your mom's flower garden with his face in his hands. He's clearly been crying all morning, and probably all of yesterday too. He and Tammy were really close. Whenever you guys used to play house in the creche, Tammy was always the mommy and Cal was the daddy. Even though you were just little kids, you kind of always giggled about how obviously they were going to be together forever. Like a princess in her knight.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
He sniffs, looking up at you. You can see how puffy and red his eyes are.
No. Not really. That's just what people want me to say, right? Tammy always liked these flowers.
He mumbles.
Sometimes I picked some for her.
He runs his hands over the pretty white flowers.
Don't tell your mom, okay?
Tears well up and slowly leak out of his eyes. He doesn't even blink, just stares at the flowers as the tears run down his cheeks. You decide to give him some space. Your dad gives you a hug.
Sorry you're feeling blue, Soul.
He says.
Things will start to look up again soon.
Your mom pats your shoulder encouragingly.
I'm so sorry, Soul.
The ship's quarters are where everyone sleeps, eats, and hangs out. The private bedrooms are small. You share one with your parents. So colonists spend most of their time in the big common area. There's a lounge and cafeteria, and a creche where all the little kids and babies are raised communally.
Relax in the lounge.
The colony is going to hold a funeral for Tammy. Do you want to attend? If you don't feel up to it, you could just skip it and take the month off instead. Or you could get back to work.
Yeah, I'll attend.
The colonists gather in the recycling room. Bringing organics down to be recycled here is one of your chores, but you've only come here for a funeral twice. Both times, a colonist had passed away from natural causes during the 20-year-long journey from Earth. This is the first time there's been a funeral on Vertumna, and the first time for someone you actually knew. The mouth of the organics recycler has been polished, and a wreath of yellow flowers placed over the opening. Inside, you can see a shrouded figure. Tammy's small, fragile body. Tammy's dad, Uncle Tonin, is here, as well as your parents and Auntie Seedent, and the rest of the council. Cal is here with his mom and her partners, already crying in their arms. The room is packed with people, and the feeling of grief is so thick you can taste it in your mouth. Governor Eudicot stands before the assembled crowd.
There are no words to ease the pain we feel today.
She begins solemnly.
There is only the sad company of those of us left behind to share the burden of that grief. Tammy was our child.
She continues.
One of the first humans to be born in space, and the first to die on an alien planet. In her short life, she exemplified the very arc of human accomplishment, bending hopefully toward life beyond our humble Earth. She is the first of us who can truly call Vertumna home. Her passing was as senseless as it was sudden. Losses like this are impossible to hold within oneself, a painful reminder that life is impossibly precious and fragile. But they also remind us, as always, that as a community we are capable of great strength.
Eudicot closes the door to the recycler. You hear Uncle Tonin sob over the hum of the particle disintegrators beginning their work.
As a community, we remember Tammy. As a community, we return her body to the soil that nourishes us. In this way, Tammy, our child from the stars, will never truly be lost to us.
The ceremony is adjourned, but a few people stay back to console Uncle Tonin as he keeps vigil over the recycler. Cal and Uncle Tonin hold each other and weep openly. Your mom stays behind to receive Tammy's remains. As the head of geoponics, she'll be responsible for adding them to the colony's precious supply of brown soil from Earth. Your dad accompanies you out of the recycling room. He clears his throat.
I want you to know that you don't need to be okay,
he says, clasping his warm hand on your shoulder.
If you want to take the rest of the month off, everyone's going to understand.
Go back to school.
You feel better just having said goodbye. Tammy was your friend, but you feel like the best way to deal with losing her is to throw yourself into your school and work. Cal gives you a sympathetic smile.
Hey, Sol,
he says.
We'll be okay.
Your dad gives you a hug.
Sorry you're feeling blue, Sol,
he says.
Things will start to look up again soon.
Your mom pats your shoulder encouragingly.
I'm so sorry. Sol.
The greenhouses have different biomes inside, growing plants from Earth that might belong in a desert, jungle, or temperate forest. Some are so delicate you have to spray off any germs in an airlock before you can enter. You sneeze as you walk through the seasonal garden, spraying up pollen from nearby plants. The air feels thick and harder to breathe here, but a sign says these plants are all harmless.
Shovel dirt.
Anemone is running around the sports ball court, touching her hand to the ground at each corner.
18.
She counts.
19.
When she reaches 20, she collapses into the grass and checks her hollow palm.
I'm training,
she explains.
My big broke comm says I have to get my legs climatized to the planet if I'm going to be team captain like him.
Here, I got something for you.
Cool! Thanks!
Anemone says, taking the egg.
I guess it is my birthday this week. I kind of forgot.
Sol,
Tangent says, approaching you with purpose.
we need to discuss my brother.
Who, Dis?
Yes, this.
She says impatiently.
I need you to figure out where he's been disappearing. Ever since we landed, I barely see him anymore. He doesn't even come home at night sometimes. And
She trails off and looks at her feet.
well, I'm I'm not on very good terms with my brother as of late. But well, people are becoming worried.
You get the feeling Tang is the one who's worried, but she doesn't want to admit it.
I'll talk to him.
He probably won't tell you.
Tangent says angrily.
Newton's apple.
She swears.
He won't even talk to me anymore.
She sighs.
You may have to follow him. I would, but everyone in the lab would know I was gone. No one cares where he goes during the day.
You tell Dis that his sister Tangent wants to know where he's been disappearing off to. His eyes flit briefly to yours, then he stares vaguely off toward the engineering wing where his sister is reading on her holopalm between classes. He doesn't say anything.
She's worried about you.
She doesn't care about me,
he says sullenly.
Tangent's just worried she'll get in trouble if I don't come home one day.
He scowls and picks at the hem of his sweater.
She doesn't care about anything but her schoolwork.
Just leave him alone.
His shoulders slump in relief as you go. Cal's mom, Tirah, is sitting with Cal against the makeshift fence that surrounds the gardens. Cal looks absolutely shattered, and Tirah rubs his back comfortingly. He sees you and musters up a brave smile that doesn't reach his eyes.
Hey, Sol. It's good to see you.
This week in biology class, you're learning about predators and prey. Professor Howell brings up a picture of a hopeye on the holoprojector and asks,
Who can tell me what special thing hopeyes do when they see a predator?
Tang's hand shoots up.
They hop away very quickly. That's why we called it a hopeye.
Hal nods.
That's true, but not what I was getting at.
Tang stammers and looks upset, like she can't believe she got something wrong. Hal scans the class again.
Anybody else? Sol?
Do they thump their feet?
You go with your gut and make a guess based on what you know about the behavior of communal animals.
That's right!
Hal smiles.
Sol sounds like they might have met one before.
Tang gives you an appraising look. Maybe she didn't expect this from you. It's time for Vertumnalia. Eudicot and the Council have called a festival to celebrate life here on the planet Vertumna. Everyone gathers in the colony square to hear Governor Eudicot's speech.
In Earth's history...
Eudicot begins and then clears her throat and waits for everyone to quiet down.
In Earth's history, Vertumna was known as the god of seasons, change, gardens, and fruit. It's no coincidence that our forebears of the Vertumna Project chose to take on such an auspicious name, in the hopes of seeing future bountiful seasons of humanity. We will continue this tradition of Vertumnalia, a midsummer festival to celebrate our Vertumna, this lush planet upon which we find ourselves today.
Everyone cheers and applauds. The members of the council all get up on stage one at a time to give their own short speeches. Governor Eudicot announces each one.
Governor Eudicot, command. Chief Administrator Seeq, command. Security Chief Ret, garrison. Chief Engineer Instance, engineering. Chief Cultivator Flulu, geoponics. Chief Steward Antecedent, quarters. Chief Surveyor Melatonin, expeditions.
When it's your mother Flulu's turn, she announces that tonight you'll be eating some of the very first crops grown from Vertumnan soil. Your eyes go to the feast table. Aboard the Stratosphere, it would have been mostly soy-based foods from the nanoprinters, spiced up with what precious fruits and vegetables could be grown in the small growing bays. This year, the earth plants look even less robust than usual. but they're supplemented by some vertumnant plants you've come to appreciate, juicy potato pods and slabs of edible fungi. Eudicot takes the stage after everyone on the council has said their piece.
What is a festival without festivities?
She asks.
Professor Hal and Security Chief Rhett have organized a 3-part competition for the kids. Good luck, children.
Which one do you join?
Bot wrestling.
A bot wrestling contest. This has been a classic competition for years on the ship. Someone has rigged up a hydraulic lifting bot to slowly stretch out, increasing in strength over time. The aim is to see how long you can hold it closed, using any part of your body before it pops open. Anemone and Cal are competing with you. Cal doesn't like that it's a competition, but he does love bot wrestling.
Wrestle that bot.
Anemone's brother Calm is the judge, and awards bonus points for technique as well as for brute strength. You sit on the hydraulic bot and use your weight at first, then switch to a bear hug when it starts to wobble and push you off the ground. You make it a full 5 minutes of increasing difficulty before it eventually springs from your grasp and scuttles into a corner, freed at last. You just barely edge out an enemy. She offers you her hand, then pulls it back at the last second before running away cackling. After the festivities are over, everyone takes time off for a much-needed break. During the fierce heat of dust, a few days' rest is exactly what you need. You feel refreshed.
So then, I trapped it in my room.
Anemone says, telling you all about the bug she saw in her quarters.
Its wings were as big as my hand, and it had feelers like, whoa! And it was bouncing all over the place like, boing, boing, boing!
She gestures excitedly, swinging her arms over her head.
The bugs here are so big, and they're everywhere. I was gonna give it to Tang,
she says.
She loves gross bug stuff, but she said I should just let it go, because if it stung me, I might get weird mutant powers. I mean, other than the one I already have. And I wanted to see if I got more weird mutant powers, so I started jumping around off higher and higher things until I was jumping off the back of the ship. And I got in so much trouble. But it wasn't even that high.
She stops in her tracks.
Hold on,
she says, stooping to rub irritably at her knees for probably the 100th time in the past 5 minutes.
Ugh, I'm gonna die. I busted up my knees and it's so itchy when my scales grow in.
Annie, don't pick at it.
Chief Steward Antecedent's voice rings out across the garrison yard, pleasant but firm. It instantly transports you back to being in the ship creche, tugging on her skirts and calling her auntie. Anemone jumps and stands up straight, her hands flying to her sides.
But, Mom!
Anemone whines, digging her fingers into her knees as Auntie Seedent approaches you both.
It's so scratch-tastically itchy!
I know, lovely.
Auntie Seedent soothes her, patting down her riotous red hair.
But the more you pick at it, the thicker your scales are going to grow in.
Anemone tucks her hands under her armpits to keep from scratching.
What if I want to have cool scales?
She pouts. Auntie Seedent smiles indulgently.
At the rate you're going, I'm sure you'll be covered in them before you know it. No need to rush.
Anemone's skin is dotted with patches of protective blue-green scales that grow in wherever she gets a cut or scrape. She rubs the patch on her jaw indignantly, the one she got when she ran headfirst into the food synthesizer back on the ship. Auntie Seedent opens her satchel and pulls out a bundle of clothes.
The queue for the nanoprinter is over a week long, so I patched your pants with scraps from your brother's clothing. Please, try not to put any more holes in them. Or yourself, okay?
She hands the clothes to Anemone and kisses her on the forehead. Anemone sticks out her tongue and gags. Yuck. Anemone evaluates the clothes as her mom walks away.
Galactic.
She breathes as she runs her fingers over the odd-colored patches. Then, right there in the middle of the yard, she unashamedly squirms out of her pants and pulls on the new ones.
Wah! I look like a fighter jet from the Hollows.
She exclaims, showing off her new pants.
Like when they'd stencil your kill count on your plane?
Or like a really cool scar.
Anemone grins.
Yeah! You get it? My pants are scarred, just like me.
Cal is scratching a stick listlessly in the dirt, seemingly uninterested in your presence until you get right in his face.
Oh, hey, Saul,
he says, mustering up a hollow smile.
Sorry, I don't really feel like playing today.
Want to hear a fun nature fact?
You recently overheard the children learning how to count by studying hop-eyes. Hop-eyes have 1 foot and 2 tail forks and 3 stomachs and 4 eyes.
And if you see 5 of them together, that's lucky.
Cal laughs, finishing the mnemonic with you.
Wait, how did they find out that hop-eyes have 3 stomachs? I don't want to know.
You're paired with Nougat in practice. You make the mistake of underestimating her, and she wipes the pitch with you. You're looking for Cal in the garden when you nearly trip over someone else. One of the younger kids, and they're blindfolded?
Hey!
They exclaim, ripping the blindfold off their face and throwing it to the ground. It's Cirrus, one of Anemone's brothers. He glares at you.
Was almost done.
Cal jogs over and grabs Cirrus in a friendly headlock, ruffling his messy red hair.
Dude, you were so close.
Cirrus stamps his feet and complains that you got in his way.
It's not their fault,
Cal says.
They didn't know we were playing a game. Give me a sec. I want to teach them how to play.
Cal turns to you as Cirrus leaves.
Sorry, Sol,
he says sheepishly.
I was teaching Cirrus a new game, but he's more like Anemone than I thought. Real competitive, you know?
He stoops to pick up the blindfold, brushing off the dirt.
I've been trying to come up with different kinds of games, other than sports ball,
he says.
No winners or losers. I just want to have fun with my friends.
Cal looks at you hopefully.
Do you want to learn how to play?
Let me check my schedule. Yes.
Cal's smile looks like it's gonna stretch right off his face.
Radical!
He shouts, jumping up and down with excitement.
Okay, so, first put on this blindfold.
The blindfold is a little scratchy and smells like dirt. You can feel Cal's big hands on your shoulders.
I'm gonna spin you around, and when I let go, gotta listen to my instructions. I'm gonna walk all the way to the cafeteria, okay?
You nod. You can't see Cal's grin, but you can hear it in his voice as he spins you around and counts to 10.
1, 2, 3. First,
Cal says.
You gotta walk forward 10 steps.
Do you follow Cal's instructions as best you can, or make things difficult for him?
Do your best.
You take 10 steps straight forward, holding your hands out for balance. The rocky dirt between the garden beds crunches under your feet.
Yeah!
Cal says.
Now, turn to your right and take 15 steps until you get to the door.
Get it right.
You turn to the right and walk forward, counting out 15 steps. When you stop, Cal laughs. You can hear his footsteps crushing behind you.
I forgot how much bigger I am than you. You're, like, 2 more steps away.
You take 2 more steps until your outstretched hands lands on the warm metal of the door. Success!
Awesome!
Cal says. You can't help but smile. This is fun.
Now hit the door button on the right, and then keep walking forward until I say stop. Go really slowly, okay?
You open the door and start to walk forward. The path slopes downwards, and your feet slip a little, even though you're moving as slowly as you can. Real dirt is nothing like the metal floors of the stratospheric.
It's turbo rocky here,
Cal says, and you can feel uneasiness prickle up the back of your arms.
Just keep going forward slowly.
You trust him.
You slowly creep down the slope to the center of the colony, somehow managing not to bump into anything. Cal cheers.
Okay, now, turn a little to your right and keep walking straight. We're so close.
You carefully pick your way forward, stopping when you hear Marz's unmistakable voice ring across the courtyard.
What are you nullheads doing?
Cal tells her you're playing a game.
Is that a real game?
Marz scoffs.
It looks like Sol is just wandering around with a scarf over their eyes. Aren't you a little old for this?
Maybe she's right.
Embarrassment burns in your belly as you tear off the blindfold. Blinking away tears in the sudden brightness, you can see Marz looking down her nose at you. Marz sneers, tossing her braids over her shoulder.
I thought you were cooler, Sol. Let me know when you're ready to play adult games.
You're not sure what she meant by that. You become aware of Cal standing beside you.
Sorry, Sol,
he says quietly.
I guess it is kind of a silly game.
You ask if he wants to get some potato juice from the cafeteria instead. You spend the afternoon brainstorming ideas for games with no winners or losers. Chief Administrator Seeq greets you at the depot. They look you up and down.
Sol, you've never struck me as particularly responsible or organized, but children never are. What makes you think you'd be a good fit for the position of courier?
You didn't realize there was going to be a job interview.
I can carry a lot.
Strong for your age, maybe. But lucky for you, you're the only applicant this week. You've got the job. For now, anyway.
They use their elegant stylus to note this on their holopalm.
Come back in a few minutes and you can help make deliveries. Yes, there will be kudos in it for you if you do it correctly.
Seeq sends you all around the colony delivering supplies. During your first week, it's mostly small things you can carry by hand or push on a little cart, stuff like tools and electronics. Some are high priority, which means you have to move fast. It's fun getting to yell, "Important delivery, coming through," and people actually get out of the way. It's pouring rain and everyone's trying to stay dry under the grassed roof palapas. Everyone except Dis. Off in the distance over the wall near the sports ball field, he's definitely skulking.
Just ignore him.
When you glance back again, Dis is gone. Tangent is watching a construction crew build scaffolding for the new engineering pavilion. They're using mushwood, which is so light that one person can easily lift a 10-meter-long pole and stack it into place. She points towards them.
Human beings are so great, don't you think? Before we landed, this was all just a dirty jungle. Now it's civilization. I've been learning about adaptability in writing and biology class. The books say it's what sets us apart from the animals. Like we don't need fur, because we can make warm clothes. And if it's too hot, we can make air conditioners instead.
Also, we can sweat.
Tang nods vigorously.
Yes, also that! I read that not many animals sweat, except humans. And it makes us naturally good in hot places. It's like we're made to be explorers.
Together, you watch as the foreman puts the blueprints for the scaffolding onto the floating screen of her holopalm and raises it to the scaffolding to check their progress.
I'd like to see an alien do that,
Tang says primly.
Humans look defenseless and weak, but we're the strongest species in the galaxy. Who else can literally bend reality to their will? Not a stupid alien, that's for sure.
She puts one finger to her chin.
I'm living proof that humanity is greater than our biology,
she says.
All of us are, really. With our genetic enhancements, we're the next step in humanity's evolution from great ape to galactic superspecies.
The greenhouses have different biomes inside, growing plants from Earth that might belong in a desert, jungle, or temperate forest. Some are so delicate, you have to spray off any germs in an airlock before you can enter. There's a small pond in the seasonal garden with vertumnal cattails. They look nothing like a cat's tail. They're more like frogs skewered on stakes. Each has a cluster of little branches near the top, and if you touch them, they kick and wave feebly like tiny legs. You join Cal at a particularly fragrant pile of compost. He's trying to use his hoverboard as a wheelbarrow, carefully pushing compost off it into the pile.
Don't you just love this?
Cal asks excitedly.
Your hoverboard? Yeah, it's cool.
No.
He laughs.
I mean, just this.
He waves his arms, dirt encrusted up to the elbows, to take in the entire greenhouse.
We get to help plant stuff and watch it grow. Even if we're just moving dirt around, we're still helping.
Why do you like it so much?
Well...
He considers.
I like digging holes in the dirt, because it's so full of surprises down there. I found a worm. Wait, let me see if I can find her again.
He sticks his hand into the compost and rummages around, his tongue sticking out of his mouth.
I guess she got away,
he says after a minute.
She was real shiny, like a rainbow. Wait,
he says.
I just thought of a thing I like better.
He shows you his splayed hand.
Getting dirt under my fingernails.
He laughs.
I don't know why, but it's the best.
You're having a terrifying familiar dream. A monster crashing through the walls. Unfathomably large, every part of it wriggling and moving and searching for something. It tramples through the colony as you watch helplessly. Time shifts to the wreckage of your home. You're picking through it, looking for something. Tears streaking down your dust-covered face as you lift heavy pieces of debris, searching. You wake up shouting, "No!" But your voice is drowned out by a deafening rumble from the skies outside. The bedroom window is covered in water? It's pouring down from the clouds. You guess this must be rain, but you've never experienced it before. There's a bright flash from outside, then another crack and rumble. Thunder! It must be a thunderstorm. It's still the early hours of the morning. You've already almost forgotten your bad dream, but you're too unsettled to go back to sleep yet. The rain beats down on the roof of your quarters, joined now and then with great peals of thunder like the footsteps of an angry beast.
Go to your parents for comfort.
Your dad is awake too, watching the rain from the large porthole in the kitchenette. He gives you a hug and you gaze out together.
This is good,
he says quietly.
It means we'll have plenty of water for the crops. Pure, healthy water, just like on Earth. Everything's going to be okay, my little potato.
You hug your dad tight and hope he's right. Tang is absent almost all of this month. Hal explains that Chief Engineer Instance has asked for Tang's help with a few experiments. Because you're judged on what you know, not what you prove you've learned in class, many older students choose to skip class and instead get hands-on experience in their field of interest. Tang's been working closely with Instance since she was just a kid.
Hold this to your head now, my darling.
You hear as you enter the garden looking for Cal.
It'll help with the swelling.
Cal is sitting with his mother, Auntie Tirah, who kneels beside him holding an ice pack to his head. Cal's eyes are a little puffy. He rubs them and sniffs as you approach.
Hello, soul.
Tirah greets you with a kind smile.
Don't worry. Recalcitrance just took a tumble off something he shouldn't have been climbing.
Mom,
Cal complains.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that sounds like something he'd do.
Cal shrugs.
I climbed it before, and it was fine.
He says, not disagreeing with you.
It was slippery from the irrigation misters, that's all. Mom always knows how to make it better.
He says with a boyish smile.
Even if I'm old enough to take care of myself.
My brave boy.
Tirah says, stroking his hair.
Thanks for humoring me.
She looks over to you.
Don't let him show off for you, soul. Ground-based feats of bravery only, for the rest of the day.
Cal whines and wrinkles his nose. Tirah laughs and wraps him in a big, motherly hug, rocking him back and forth. Despite his protests, Cal's eyes close in happiness. He really loves his mom. It's been a while, but it's time to attend a meeting of the Secret Fun Times Club. Marz started the SFC years ago when you were little kids. Tangent and Tammy agreed to join at the time, but then you all got busy with other things and forgot about it. And then Tammy died. You meet in an unused conference room in command, which Marz says is perfect for a secret club. Club President Marz brings the meeting to order. Tang, Vice President of Writing Down Secrets, records the meeting notes on her holopalm. As Vice President of Fun Ideas, it was your job to come up with something for the club to do today. You chose making friendship bracelets and brought all the supplies you need.
Today,
Marz announces,
we're gonna make friendship bracelets. And I have an even better idea. We're gonna sell them to people for kudos.
That isn't really how kudos are supposed to be used, but Marz is hard to argue with sometimes. The three of you spend the afternoon braiding bracelets out of recycled bits of wire and bright plastic packing straps. Your hearts aren't really in it, though. All three of you know that Tammy would have been much better at this than you. Making friendship bracelets was one of her favorite things. She was always giving them to people and didn't expect anything in return. It's eventually Marz who calls the meeting early. She takes all your misshapen bracelets and looks at them dubiously.
I don't know if people will want to trade their kudos for these, but I'll do my best. I'll put the kudos in the club treasury. Meeting adjourned.
You ask Tangent if she thinks Marz is actually going to sell them.
I think so.
Tang tells you.
But the club doesn't even have a treasury. She'll probably just keep the kudos for herself.
She doesn't seem to care. The days have been getting shorter, with only the yellow sun barely skimming the horizon. One morning, you wake in the darkness and have to check your holopalm to know what time it is. You see a holostream from Marz.
Good morning to all my pals. If you can even call it morning. They've named it glow season because, everything is crazy glowing out there in the dark. I am staying the heck inside for the next month. What's the point in even going out if you can't see anything? It's gonna be a long, boring month.
No way, it looks cool out there.
You peek out the window. The wormhole is the biggest you've ever seen it, like a massive fiery ring in the sky. The planet must be very close to it now. And out in the jungle, something new is taking place. The plants are flowering, glowing iridescent blooms, and everything is full of life. There are strange new sounds, long hooting calls and gurgling roars. After Marz's message is a notice from the council warning everyone to stay safe inside. Tammy's dad and the other surveyors have been called back and the gates closed for the month. There's a tension in the air, as if everyone is waiting for something. Dis is staring off into the wilderness outside the gates.
Feels different.
He mumbles.
Dunno how. Just different.
You ask him what he means, but he just shakes his head and stuffs his hands in his pockets. Anemone blinks at you in the dark.
It's so creeptacular.
She breathes.
It's perfect for hide and seek.
Soul!
Your mom stops you as you walk by.
What are you doing out of our quarters? It isn't safe out here.
I was just heading back.
She folds her arms and eyes you suspiciously.
Mm-hmm. That's right, you were.
She says,
Good kid.
As you walk away and are just out of earshot, you hear her mumble.
Stars. It is beautiful, though.
You nestle in the cushions, close your eyes, and listen to music. You have an archive of over 100 years of music to choose from, but still, you wonder what new songs they're writing these days, 10 million light years away on Earth. The only new music you've heard is when the adults have come up with a new space shanty. It's nice, good music for harmonizing with your friends as you work, but it's not really something you want in your ears all the time. It's daytime when the emergency sirens start up. Well, what passes for day. It's still nearly pitch black except for an eerie green twilight glow on the horizon. You look toward the gates. They're open! Wait, they shouldn't be open. The alert blares out of every speaker in the colony. It's the same one you used for hull breaches and fires, and in space it meant you were supposed to go to the nearest emergency shaft and put on a spacesuit. On Vertumna, it means to go to an assembly point and wait for instructions. The closest assembly point is the children's creche, but from the opposite direction, you hear shouting and loud popping noises. Gunfire! Is the colony under attack?
Help fight.
You'll try your best to be brave and fight back. First, you dodge some helpful grown-ups who point you back to the creche. Then, you head outside to get your bearings. You can hear yelling from up the stairs to command, and a commotion to the southeast at Geoponics where your parents are working.
Go to Geoponics.
Your parents are defending the greenhouses from a pack of knee-high creatures which seem to have eyes growing all over their bodies. Their oily flesh ripples with a constant, subtle motion as the individual eyes blink one at a time incessantly. You can't tell which end is which with these horrible things. Cal is standing nearby. Wide-eyed, he slowly picks up a shovel and moves beside you. He reluctantly holds the shovel in front of himself like a weapon.
Easy, doggies,
he whispers.
We don't want to hurt you.
Get out of here, both of you! Run!
Your mom shouts, attracting the pack's attention. All except one animal, which moves straight towards you and Cal.
Analyze its behavior.
You look into its too many eyes and see fear. The creature is scared of you. To Cal's amazement, you crouch down to try to look less threatening, and choose 2 eyes at random to look into, to communicate with. You start to reach out a hand, but the creature is trembling. Staring into its eyes has made it even more frightened than before. It pounces.
Defend yourself.
You killed it. With nothing but a rake thrust deep into several of the creature's many eyes. The rest of the pack scampers off in the moment it falls. You've never killed anything before. The body of the creature that was so terrifying a minute ago now looks strangely small and harmless. All of its eyes have closed for good now. Cal crouches beside it in shock.
I told you to run, Soul!
Uh-oh. Your mom looks furious that you put yourself in danger. She storms over, and you think she's going to slap you. Then suddenly she pulls you into her arms and hugs you. She keeps rocking you and saying, my baby, over and over. It's pretty surreal. Almost as weird as the dog things with the eyes, honestly. After 2 weeks of darkness, with the blue sun barely skimming the horizon, it begins to move higher in the sky, and daytime returns. The council admits they don't know how the gates were opened, or how the creatures got in. Some of the attacking creatures were once thought to be docile. Others were species nobody had seen before. It was like something had driven them to assault the colony. At least nobody was killed. This time.